Hello everyone, welcome once again to MedTech World, the podcast. Today we have Maria Artunduaga. She is a woman leader in MedTech from South America to the world. Maria, thank you very much for being with us today. It's such a pleasure to have you. We've been looking for you since a while and finally we have the pleasure to have you here today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really excited, especially because you're Colombian like me. I've never done this before with another Colombian, a fellow Colombian.
Indeed. Indeed, we have got to know Samai and your whole project through different scenarios. You've been winning MedTech Innovator 2024. You've been shortlisted as well in Magazine Female Founders list. You won Bloomberg's 100 Innovators in Latin America. And also recently, you won Best Colombian Startup in 2025. Congratulations.
Yeah, my gosh. Yeah, honestly, it was interesting. I literally went to Bogota, the capital, to give a talk about my journey as a founder, a physician turned CEO in the States, especially here in the Bay Area where we are located. I just went to give a talk for 25 minutes, and they opened up this pitch competition. I literally just registered because I wanted to do it in Spanish because I've never ever done anything in Spanish before, like competing especially. And we ended up just advancing through every other round until we got into the finals and we won. So yeah, it's exciting.
Wow, great. You took another prize at home this time.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I work really hard to make everything that I do the best possible thing, right? Like I'm always trying, I'm very perfectionist, and I think you know this. I used to be a plastic surgeon or a trainee for some time. So if you really want to get into art, right, or plastic surgery, you really strive to be the best if you can. So I'm pretty much detail oriented. I really like to do things the best way possible.
Indeed. And before we dive into what is Samai and the whole idea, just because you just mentioned you were you were into surgery before, plastic surgery, but now you are leading a MedTech company. How this started? What was the story behind all of this?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story, and people keep telling me that I should write a book eventually, hopefully when I get into an exit or something in a couple of years. So I'm originally from a small town in Colombia. I'm the oldest daughter of two physicians, and they were founder physicians as well. They actually created the largest tertiary hospital back in the day. So I saw entrepreneurship very early from home, and I guess that's probably the reason why I'm so proactive, and I'm always looking for a new thing to build. But I had originally planned to get into medicine and following suit into the steps, of my parents. My mom, she's an ENT surgeon. She's a surgeon as well. An anesthesiologist, my dad. And the original plan was to get back eventually to the city where I'm from and keep building the clinic and, the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. But I had a lot of issues throughout my medical school, meaning, I don't know, I found medicine, obviously the science is very interesting, but the practice and questioning stuff, it was a little bit boring. And in Colombia, you don't get to see a lot of careers into diving into science and technology, not as much as here in the US, right? So I was hesitant about continuing to medicine and into the medical field. And then I decided to come abroad to the US, and I spent about a year through doing clinical rotations at Harvard, Mount Sinai, and Baylor College. And I met someone. This was a pediatric plastic surgeon who was also doing science. He had a lab, and he was operating every other day. So I found that sort of practice very interesting and appealing to me because I really like solving questions. And I just love the process of questioning everything and understanding the world around me. So I decided to get into plastic surgery. I did 4 years of genetics research at Harvard. I even got a green card under 4 years. I published in Nature, New England Journal of Medicine. I work really hard. And I keep telling people, look, I'm not a genius or anything. I just work very hard. I work the extra hours. I even weekends. I'm obsessed with very good outcomes, as I said. If I want to get something, I work really hard to get it. And then I got into plastics at the University of Chicago, and I unfortunately things didn't work out. I started to get disparate treatment. I wasn't getting the same type of opportunities, training wise, et cetera, et cetera. And my mom, I complained about it. Things didn't change. Actually, they kicked me out from the residency. And at the same time, my grandmother died from a respiratory attack from a condition that is called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. She was back in Colombia, in Bogota. I guess that's where you're from, right? And she died because it was very hard for us as physicians to sort of like monitor her lung function, however she was doing. She was living alone. She didn't want to be bothered with anything. I mean, like, she was very independent, but she wouldn't tell us how she was feeling. So she got one exacerbation or respiratory attack after the other until she eventually passed from hospitalization, complications from her hospitalization in the ICU. So things weren't going very well. We obviously, with the surgical career, I was like, I don't think me as a Latina with an accent, right, who's very ambitious and very outspoken about the things that I want. I was always told that I needed to stay low and keep my head down if I wanted to be successful in the US, and probably even in every other country that this happens a lot with women in surgery anyway. So I just decided to leave clinical medicine for good. And I was 32 when I decided to leave everything behind. And I told that to my parents. And for many years, even my mom, she wasn't speaking to me because she thought that I wasn't I wasn't a real doctor, right? Because I wasn't seeing patients or operating. And I just told her, look, I'm going to do something that I'm passionate about. And the other thing I really, really liked was global public health, like, public health for low and middle income countries. So I switched entirely from, surgery, plastic surgery, reputable, et cetera, to like, go and work on the nonprofit side. I was actually working for an institute, a nonprofit that was greatly funded by the Gates Foundation. And I did a master's in public health at the University of Washington, Seattle. And then I realized once again, I was 36 or 34, I don't remember, 34 or something along, my gosh, I'm 45, I don't even remember. And I decided to actually get into technology because one of the things that I was very frustrated with the public health environment was that everything took forever. Obviously, the mission is super great, right? Like, it's very inspiring working, for the people that need it the most, obviously, inequities, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm a surgeon at heart anyway. So I really, really I'm an executor. I really like doing things well and fast. I really like to see that, the retribution, like, oh, I did this. Great. So I got into technology, came to the Bay Area, and ever since I've been working here, in technology. I was doing, I completed a master's degree with the University of Berkeley and San Francisco. It's a combined program doing technology, business, and innovation. And ever since, that's how actually the company started as a business class project. At the time, we were called Respiratory Labs.
For how long have been the company running?
Oh my goodness, it's been a long, long journey. So I can tell you more about that. It's been really tough because we had the original idea, and actually the idea that it's actually working right now, it sounded very crazy. We are repurposing hearing aid technology to understand pulmonary function. So we use, and this is the prototype, by the way. So the prototype, we are repurposing hearing aid technology, meaning that we have micro arrays of the speakers and microphones on one end and the other. And we are sending signals through the chest. So we use principles of music to make the lung resonate with off-the-shelf sensors, something that is fairly cheap to build. Like, this prototype cost us only $70 to put together. And what we do is we are using principles of music to understand how the lung is functioning, meaning we take the resonances and how they change over time. We do a series of it's called time series analysis. And we use very sophisticated mathematics to match the diagnosis or the numbers that are coming out from an $80,000 machine that sits in the hospital primarily. So what we want to do is democratize lung diagnostics and monitoring. I'm trying to solve the problem that killed my grandma, which is whenever you're outside of the hospital, the way how you're managing patients with any sort of respiratory condition is by telling them to tell us how they feel. So we are always waiting for the patient to tell us if they are feeling short of breath, if they are coughing more, if they cannot climb the stairs, or symptoms, which are very in a specific and clinically speaking. Sometimes we don't even pay attention to that, or maybe we just dismiss those reports. So 50% of the respiratory attacks go unreported, don't even get managed, and that's why my grandmother died. So that's what we're trying to solve. Can we take quantitative medicine, personalized medicine to the homes, and even to the primary care settings? Because the gold standard, the device that we buy for respiratory diagnosis and management, it's a device that it's very hard to do. Requires a respiratory therapist to tell you how to use it, how to blow through the thing for like 7 to 20 times. So we don't really use that device broadly, with the primary care setting, because it's actually pretty expensive to run an spirometry test, a lab test. It costs around $100,000 per year, because you have to hire a respiratory therapist to tell the patient how they need to do everything, and the reimbursement is very, very low. So it doesn't really make sense, in terms of like ROI and investment. So what if we bring something that it's obviously way more affordable to do, and instead of taking 30 to 40 minutes to complete the test, can we do this under 10 minutes just by telling a patient to follow a little ball on our app and do everything under 10 minutes with just a medical assistant, right? Like something that we could do with the same level of accuracy, but shorter, cheaper, and obviously using the same reimbursement code. So that's actually our first business model, and that's how we are going to launch. Thank you.
Yeah. Challenges, of course, coming all the way. How or what was exactly the toughest moment, let's say, when you have the idea? This is my idea, but now it's clinically approved.
Well, not yet. I wish. I would say I always tell this thing, right? I mean, and I sort of like understand it. I don't look like your typical successful CEO, right? Like, the one who has sold several companies, who has experience managing business teams, et cetera, or has even taken a company through, the public market, right? So just because of that, obviously, I understand that people are hesitant into like investing, or like, I get a lot of help, to tell you the truth. I mean, especially from white men. A lot of them help me out. Men help me more than women. But the interesting thing is about like, the actual investment in money, right? In cash. So I do notice that I always get more asks on regarding, the milestones, right? Like when I compare myself to other founders that are, I don't know, 28 years old, from, male, an Indian guy, East Asia, the traditional, minorities that are pretty much successful on anything science and technology, because they are really great at doing those things. Latinos particularly, we are not, recognized as being, a minority group that's successful at doing science and technology, right? So it's either that, plus the fact that I'm also, I've never done it before, and I'm a physician, and obviously the fact that I'm also doing something that is so close to my heart, which is a personal tragedy. So people at the beginning sort of like thought that this was just a passion project, and that I would never, be successful at persisting and surviving. And yeah, it's been a long, long time, because I hadn't had really the opportunity to make it quicker, because I don't have access to the money to accelerate everything. So I always tell people, if I had $5 million today, I'll probably be on the US market in 2 or 3 years, because we really know what to do. We have the right team around us. It's just a matter of capital. That's it. So we do a lot of grants, for example. We are doing a lot of money also coming from Latin America, because I've recognized that I get more buy-in from Latin American people, because they sort of like, obviously want to support me. Just, how many Latinos you have building a deep tech company in the Bay Area? Like probably 2. That's it, 2 or 3. And again, it's all about like, Maria's Latina, but she has gone through Harvard and like 4 other universities that are Ivy Leagues, or like top universities, etc. And she has proven herself by like, competing and doing all of these things. So that's why I really like doing the competitions, even though it takes a lot of time out of my busy schedule, obviously, because I'm also a mom.
Yeah.
But more importantly, is validating myself, right? It's like if you compare me against every other founder that's in the same industry and you put us together to compete, it's not only like pitching, right? It's the whole thing about the business, like how we make it work,
Yeah.
what is it exactly that we're planning on doing, the way how we build, and operate a company and the technology. And I can demonstrate that I'm as good or even probably better. So people start believing that, this little Maria from Colombia, actually she's talking, it's serious business. So that's why I do what I do.
And one of the things that I most, let's say, love of Samai is the big support that you have to your community.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I was reading about, and not sure if ChatGPT gave me the right number. 90% of your people is Latin America. Is it true?
Yes, yes, yes. So so it's interesting. We have gotten SBIRs from the US, $3 million almost. And I have never ever thought of like building a team in Colombia or in Latin America, because we were originally from the US and we were getting most of the funding from the American government. So we have this commitment to actually create the jobs right here. But the thing is, like, people are obviously super expensive here, and the grants, if I wanted to make things work, I couldn't, hire them full time. So I got a $1 million investment from a Chilean fund. Their name is Sentinel. They are, an emerging fund, $20 million. I think they were like their investment and the only one from Colombia. And obviously they are in Latin America. And one of their main, mandates is like, can you actually help us build the Latin American ecosystem? And particularly in Colombia, we are not well known or famous for anything deep tech. Honestly, we do a lot of software and fintech, right? Like startup wise, but most of the like heavy, tough, very nitty gritty technology is coming from like biotech and medical technology and everything and beyond. Like between those, is coming from Argentina or Chile or Brazil, obviously,
Yeah.
right? So I just thought, and I spoke to Ricardo, my husband, who happens to help me with the company as well. Like, we've been so privileged to be here in the US. He went to MIT. I was at Harvard. And, all of his experience that we have, because he's working at Google and he recently, was touched by Meta. He actually started working there 2 weeks ago. So, we have so much wisdom and advice and knowledge that we really need to, share with other people. And who will be better than our fellow Colombians, right? Because it's very hard for people to have these opportunities, right? To train overseas, especially at like the best universities. So we have a problem with English, of course. Yeah, we are not very fluent. And then also the fact that we don't think that we can dream big. So we just decided to, like, let's set up shop there, let's try it out. And the way how we run the company is pretty much as an academic lab, to tell you the truth. I mean, we mentor a lot, we guide them through. We are also very strict and disciplined, but it's very much like we're trying to replicate experiences that we had at Harvard and MIT. So Ricardo was at the media lab with everything was cool, and there was a lot of demos and technology. And me, on the other end, I was in genetics with, like, my God, very famous people. Like, I mean, I have deep admiration for them. And like, they taught me how is the right way of doing science, right? Like discipline, very judgmental, very critical. It's interesting, like you have the two sides of a coin, and we sort of like balance ourselves out, because Ricardo is more practical, but at the same time I'm like, I'm always asking for the best results, and like following the scientific method the right way, because that's definitely what you need to get through FDA or like clinical evaluation,
Yeah.
etc., etc. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. So far we have 18 people, and I think we're growing up to 22 in the next couple of months. We haven't published this yet, but we have a partnership with a European pharmaceutical, and we are getting to a few more deals for research and development pre-FDA. So we are actually excited to generate revenue as a company.
Great.
And again, we are trying to do a lot of things in Colombia. We do have people here in the US as contractors. We applied for an SBIR grant of 4 million. I don't know if we're gonna get it, but if we do, within the next 6 months,
Hopefully.
yeah, fingers crossed. That's right, and whole thing. we will start definitely hiring here in the US because, yeah, I mean, like hardware-wise and AI and all of these things that are pretty much, advanced, the best way to do this here. Like, there is no question about that. So, yeah, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
It's all about the money, Sasha, right?
Indeed. Yeah, yeah. To wrap up, Maria,
Yeah.
in 5 years' time, you've been dreaming about a world of respiratory with a bit of AI and fully monitoring, right, from home. How do you see this world in 5 years' time, and how SAMAI is playing a role in it?
Oh my goodness. I mean, we have a big problem with respiratory, and the fact that there hasn't been really innovation, like groundbreaking innovation within the past 70 years. So just to give you an example, the test that we are trying to, change, it has been, it has been used for 170 years. It hasn't really changed, but if you go to
Wow.
like neuro or cardiac or obviously orthopedics and surgery, you see great innovations and like changes of like everything, like creating new markets, et cetera, within the past decade or two. So respiratory, we have a big challenge, which is people are sort of like comfortable with the way how things are, and they sort of accept outcomes or results just because we don't have courageous people or crazy people like me trying to change things a little, for the better, right? Especially for the patients. So I think it's going to take at least 10 to 15 years, to tell you the truth, because even for us,
Wow.
we got back a letter from a breakthrough submission that we did with FDA, and they are asking us for way more things that they have ever done or asked a cardiac company, right? Like the level of evidence that they are requiring for a respiratory company, it's insanely high.
Hi.
So it's going to take us, even though obviously I was very sad and the whole thing, I'm frustrated. I get it. It's going to take us more years and more effort and obviously more capital to get through the hoops, right? Like, the actual milestones and the things that we need to prove just because it hasn't really been done before. So
Yeah.
it is what it is, but I keep, committed to the mission. And I really think that we can
Yeah.
change. This technology, honestly, is giving us such great results that even for me as a physician, when I started a company, I was 50% convinced that this was the right way of solving a problem. Because I'm not a technologist, not an engineer. And I was like, I don't know, it sounds like too crazy, like making a resonate and you actually get right numbers. It sounds like science fiction, honestly. But it's working. So yeah, it might happen. But
Great.
give me more years, more time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Maria, once again for being with us. Amazing job you are doing, as well
Thank
as a
you.
woman in MedTech. We are very proud as well as Colombians, of course.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you in MedTech Malta, hopefully,
Yes.
2025 or next year.
Yes, next year. Next year for sure.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Maria. Bye-bye.
Ciao.